Hi gardening friends. In my last video I gave you a quick tour of my seed starting area, and I thought in this video I would just give you a quick update of how things are going and also what I will be starting in the next 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date period. So on the bottom I have all of the seed starting trays. This is where I have all of my seeds located when they're in the germinating phase. You'll see all of the trays are on a heat mat, and a heat mat will aid germination. So in two ways. Number one, it can increase your germination rate, meaning the number of seeds that would germinate, and it will most certainly accelerate the time that it takes for the seeds to germinate. So if you look in each of these seed cells, I have all of the seeds planted and everything is labeled, and they will stay here on the mat until they germinate. And once I have a seed cell that has most of the seeds have germinated, so if we look at this seed pack, right now there's only really like maybe one or two cells out of the six that have actual seeds that have germinated, so I won't move these yet. But once I see that there's maybe like 5 out of the 6 cells have actually germinated, I will move the trays here under the lights, and this is where they will grow for the rest of their time until it's time to go outside. So everything is looking really great so far. You can see I have some peppers that have germinated. They actually germinated very quickly and probably in about 4 days. So those are under the grow lights already. And as more space becomes available, I will start more seeds and fill up some of these little empty areas in the seed germination trays. Okay, now let's look at what I'm going to plant 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date. So in the last video, which I'll make sure there's a link to that video, I shared with you the flowers and vegetables that I was planting 8 to 10 weeks before my last frost date. And those are the things that we just saw in the grow trays. So in this packet, these are the seeds that need to be started 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date. So my last frost date is mid-April. I believe it's April 17th. So I'm 7 weeks before my last frost date. First one is a Scabiosa or pincushion flower. It's called Fama Deep Blue. I got these from Johnny Seeds. I actually bought these last year, so I'm finally starting them this year, so that'll be exciting. This next seed is new from me from Botanical Gardens. It's a lupin called Sundial Lupin Blue Bonnet. This is the first time that I'm growing these, so this will be exciting. It's a perennial. And the one thing that I wanted to share with you when it comes to seed packets, most seed packets on the back will have quite a bit of information. And actually Botanical Gardens is one of those seed companies that's actually really good. And they give you a lot of great information on the front, whether it's, the height, whether they're perennial, what the sun requirements are. And there's even information on the inside of the packet as well. But on the back, they have a lot of great information, like when you should sow them outside, when you should start indoors. And as you can see, this says 6 to 8 weeks. And then quite often, there is also special germination instructions. So some seeds need special handling before they can germinate. And that can mean cold stratification, which means that a seed needs a cold period or a period of cold temperatures before it will germinate. In the case of the lupin, the seed has a hard outer shell, and so it needs to be nicked so that water can make it to the inside of the seed that will allow the seed to germinate. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but this seed has a really hard shell. So you want to make sure In this case, I just took a nail clip and just clipped and nicked the outer cover of the seed to make sure that water can enter inside so it will germinate. So those have been started already. Crispidia is an annual. I think these are hardy to like zone 8 through 11. I grew these last year, but the rabbits really like them. So they didn't get too far. So I'm going to start them again this year. When it comes to asters, I started these asters last year. They didn't make it outside. I forgot to water these, and so they died. So I'm going to start these again. And as most gardeners do, I forgot that I already had a packet of apricot asters. So I bought these king-size apricot asters from Botanical Interest, and I'm going to start some of those this year as well. I always like to have in my garden a flower that reminds me of my family, of growing up. And this year, that flower will be Cleome. So my grandfather used to have these in his garden every year. So I am going to start a number of these plants to grow in my garden. They're also called spider flowers. So I'll have these in my garden this year to remind me of my grandfather. And these are annuals. They will self-seed and come back every year, but technically they are annuals. So this next seed is Mahogany Splendor, and I've grown these for, I think, the past 3 years. If you like the look of Japanese maples, but without the cost of a Japanese maple, I'd recommend that you try Mahogany Splendor. The leaf structure is a lacy leaf structure, very similar to Japanese maple. The leaves are dark burgundy. The plants can grow upwards of 70 inches tall and maybe 40 inches wide. Just a really spectacular plant. Also, the foliage is great for cutting, so you can use them as an accent in your arrangements. So I'll just be starting a handful of these seeds to use as accent plants in the garden this season. The Gomphrena. So I started Gomphrena from seed for the first time last year, and they were spectacular. And I will have Gomphrena in my garden every single year, no matter what. So this is a different color. This is Lavender Lady from Botanical Interest. These seeds are easy to germinate, easy to grow, and they give you a lot of color in the garden. They are annual, so you have to start them every year, but well worth it. One of my favorites. My vegetables, and there's quite a few things here. Actually, all of these are pretty much or mostly tomatoes. And I will not be starting all of these tomatoes, so I'll have to make some decisions as to which ones I will start and which ones I won't, but I'll just share with you some of the varieties that I have here. So this San Marzano tomato, I started these last year for the first time, and I was very happy with the performance. The harvest was excellent. Just a really nice paste tomato. So very happy with the performance of this, and this will certainly be in my garden this year. The rest of these, let's go to here. So this is a Brandywine Red that I purchased these last year, but I did not start any of these. I have grown Brandywine before, so I'll have to decide whether or not that will be in the garden this year. So that's a maybe. When it comes to the cherry tomatoes, I mostly grow heirloom tomatoes, but when it comes to cherry tomatoes, I've heard so much about the Super Sweet 100 and the Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. And so last year I bought these from Johnny Seeds, and they were just okay. I wasn't bowled over by them, so I'll have to decide whether or not I'm going to grow this variety of cherry this year. So both of these are a maybe for me. And the rest of all the red seed packets that you see here is from the company where I order my tomato seeds from, and that's TomatoFest.com. And I've been ordering seeds from this company. It's a small company for many, many years, and so I have quite a few tomatoes here. I'm not going to start all of these. This one is called Flamme. There's a Santiago. There's a Black Krim, which I've grown Black Krim before, so this is definitely in the maybe column. The Cherokee Purple, I've grown this variety for years. I love this tomato, so this is a definite yes for this year. There's also Sunset Red Horizon. I have another Roma tomato, Martino's Roma, Isis Candy Cherry, Sweet Orange Cherry, Chadwick Cherry, Amana Orange, which I think is a regular slicing tomato, and another variety of Brandywine. So I'll have to go through all of those and make decisions on which varieties I will start this year. I certainly will not start all of those tomatoes, but the Cherokee Purple as well as the San Marzano are definite yeses. And then another vegetable that I will be starting this year is bok choy. However, I will not start these indoors. I will start these outdoors in containers. These will grow in 35 to 60 days, and they can tolerate frost. So I will plant them outside and they will grow outside, and if we get a little bit of frost, even the better for the bok choy. So these will be just direct sown outdoors. So that is what I'm starting to grow 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date.